Hello everyone and welcome back to the 3T Path channel. My name is Giridhari and welcome back to our Uddhava-gita course. So now we will have in this class a very interesting idea of having your own body as your spiritual guru. And so this is coming from the avadhuta brahmana Dattatreya, who is taking instructions from things all over nature and everything that he's experiencing. And we're going to start the class with him taking instructions from a wasp. So let's see how that goes. And if you want to watch the rest, the complete course, become a member. Join the Bhakti Club. The instructions are here in the description of the video. Become a member of this channel and you'll have access to the whole course. So we are now in Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th Canto, 9th chapter, verse 22. If out of love, hate, or fear, an embodied soul fixes his mind with intelligence and complete concentration upon a particular bodily form, he will certainly attain that form that he is meditating upon. So here's a concept of the transmigration of the soul. And Krishna says something similar to this in verse 5 of chapter 8 of Bhagavad-gita, where he says that whatever you're focusing your mind on at the moment of death, that you will achieve in the next body. So it's an important element of the transmigration. You know, it's data, like where you're going to end up after that. An important element is what are you focusing your mind on? What is your meditation being? And of course, Krishna uses this to explain to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita that we should, of course, constantly focus our mind entirely on Him, on God. So therefore, when we die, we're guaranteed to take, birth with God, in the kingdom of God. So he talks about that in the beginning of chapter 8 in Bhagavad Gita. So here, Dattatreya, this avadhuta brahmana, is saying that, look, you will achieve that form of life that you're thinking of. Of course, a super famous example of this from the Srimad Bhagavatam, way before, but a very famous example in the tradition, is that of the great king Bharata. So King Bharata, even today, we call it India, but the actual name is Bharat. So the actual name of India is Bharat. It is from this king Bharat. So this is the king that gave the name to the, of course it was much bigger before the British chopped it up into pieces, etc. But anyway, so this is the king from ancient times that, gave the name of Bharat. Where you get Mahabharata, the great Bharata. So this is him. This guy is important. So this great king Bharata, he was very advanced. He was a very advanced yogi, and he was king. He was great super emperor of the world. But then he renounces everything at the end of his life, so he can go live alone in nature to just spend his whole time just in meditative practices, taking care of his deity. He had a little deity, a little altar there, and he would just take care of his deity, do his japa, do his meditation, just spend all day absorbed in spiritual practices. So it was going really well. He renounced everything, empire, and unlimited wealth, and you just imagine this is like supreme emperor of the world. So anyway, so he renounces family, friends, everything. So he's very renounced, doing really well. But then it so happens that he takes charge of a small deer. A little baby deer, the mother dies and he's there and he's just like, okay, whatever, I'm just going to take care of this little deer, so it becomes his pet. He has a little pet deer. And he goes a little cuckoo with the pet deer. He just gets so into it. He gets so excited with his pet deer that he just starts thinking more and more of the pet deer, and he starts abandoning all his practices. He stops not meditating anymore, not taking care of the deities. Anyway, so then in the end what happens is that he's so absorbed, his mind is so absorbed in the deer that he takes birth as a deer. So it's a classic example of like focusing your mind on a bodily form, exactly as the Guru is alerting us here, and then taking birth in that body. And then, but he was so advanced that he maintains his memory of his past life. It's like, oh no, I can't believe it. I'm so stupid, but now I'm gonna. And then it's a great story. There's much more to it. You have to check that out some other time. Anyway, so back to this verse, he's saying this same. So this is an important instruction in yoga, that be careful what you fix your mind on, because that's going to propel you towards that kind of birth. And of course, as yogis, as we're completely focused in bhakti yoga, as you're completely focused in the activities and names, form of Krishna, of God, then that propels you towards a transcendental birth. Purport. From this verse, it is not hard to understand that if one constantly meditates upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one will achieve a spiritual body just like that of the Lord. The word diya, with intelligence, indicates complete intellectual conviction in a particular understanding, and similarly the word sakalam indicates one-pointed attention of the mind. With such complete absorption of consciousness, surely one will attain in the next life a form exactly like that upon which one was meditating. This is another example learned from the insect kingdom as explained in the following verse. So this is a funny thing they're going to say now in the next verse. Let's read that. Verse 23. O king, once a wasp forced a weaker insect to enter his hive and kept him trapped there. In great fear, the weak insect constantly meditated upon his captor, and without giving up his body, he gradually achieved the same state of existence as the wasp. Thus, one achieves a state of existence according to one's constant concentration. So this is a great bit of like ancient biology. So I guess what they must have observed is that some wasp-like flying creature, I mean, it probably wasn't even like whatever it was, some wasp-like thing would grab insects and take it back to their little hive to feed upon, or to serve as food for their larvae or something. So then people would observe like this other insect going into the, whatever this creature was, this, wasp-like creature, into the hive. And of course, out of the hive would come out baby wasps or more wasps. So they're like, see there, that insect is trapped in there and is thinking of the wasp, and now it's become a wasp. So, I don't think it actually transmuted into a wasp. I don't think that's biologically possible. But, the lesson is there, so they take the lesson. Don't worry about the biology here, but the lesson of being completely focused on something and attaining that body. Purport. The following question may be raised. Since the weaker insect in this story did not physically change his body, how can it be said that he achieved the same state of existence as the wasp? Actually, by constant meditation upon a particular object, one's consciousness becomes filled with its qualities. Due to extreme fear, the smaller insect was absorbed in the characteristics and activities of the large wasp, and thus entered into the existence of the wasp. Due to such meditation, he actually took the body of a wasp in his next life. So this is a nicer explanation of it. Similarly, though we are conditioned souls, we absorb our consciousness. If we absorb our consciousness in Lord Krishna, we can become liberated even before giving up our present body. And this is actually, a statement from the scripture. So you become liberated even within this current material body, because your consciousness has been already completely changed by your yoga work, by your bhakti. If our intelligence becomes steady on the spiritual platform by understanding that Lord Krishna is everything, then we can give up unnecessary consciousness of the external body and absorb ourselves in the spiritual pastimes of Vaikuntha. Thus, even before death, one can raise oneself to the spiritual platform and enjoy life as a liberated soul. Or if one is a stubborn fool, then even in this life one can become just like an animal, such as a hog or a dog, constantly thinking of eating and sex life. But human life is actually meant for understanding the science of consciousness and the future results of our meditation. Okay, now, as promised, we'll hear about the body being our guru. Verse 24, O king, from all these spiritual masters I have acquired great wisdom. Now please listen as I explain what I have learned from my own body. Verse 25, the material body is also my spiritual master, because it teaches me detachment, being subject to creation and destruction. It always comes to a painful end. Thus, although using my body to acquire knowledge, I always remember that it will ultimately be consumed by others. And remaining detached, I move about this world. So this is good stuff. And this is definitely something which I do, something which you can do. It's very important to have this relationship with your body. So he looks at his body and he says, oh, this is going to teach me detachment. Why? Because it's subject to creation and destruction, right? Your body was created at some point, right? It started out there, a little, in your mother's womb, and little 2 cells, and it became, there, and it's constantly changed. So it was created at some point, and it's going to be destroyed, right? You know that for sure. And that's the only thing you know for sure. Right? Death is the only sure thing in life. Everything else, you're not sure. It could happen, could not happen. The sun could rise tomorrow, it could not, you don't know. Just other things aren't sure. But that your body is going to end, that you're going to die, that you can be sure of. So this is the one thing you're completely sure of. So and you're sure it was created, right? Because your body, everybody tells it was created, your body wasn't there forever, and it's going to be destroyed. So these are like nice, solid, undeniable facts of life. No questions. So he says, I know this, and thus, although using my body to acquire knowledge, I always remember that it will ultimately be consumed by others. And remaining detached, I move about this world. So our bodies, we know it's going to end. And I like, he puts this extra detail, it's going to be consumed by others. It's your body's, something's going to consume your body, be it fire, be it insects, be it little bacteria, but your body's going to be consumed by others, not by you. So your body's going to end, it's going to be consumed. So should you just reject your body? No, you should, that's going to happen. So what should you do? Well, you should use your body to acquire knowledge, he says. Knowledge, this kind of knowledge, jnana, not knowledge about, I don't know, like who won the Super Bowl or something, but knowledge that will liberate your soul, that will help you become free of this crazy, weird situation where you find yourself in a body that is destined to be destroyed, consumed by others. So that's, you take very good care of your body, because it's an amazing instrument, an amazing machine, especially for you as a human. It's just like an amazing thing. It's so incredible and fantastic and special and blessed that you're in a human body. It is just, wow. I mean, it's like we don't know how amazing it is. I mean, if you just have to look around a bit. Just look around and see how many other kinds of bodies there are. So many bodies. Recently I read an article about the number of ants in the world. And it was some crazy number, like, I don't know, I can't remember now, but it was like trillions of ants in the world. I think it was 30 trillion ants. They figured there must have been in the world. So 30 trillion ants, just ants. You know, just yesterday I read this weird article about some kind of crab that disappeared in Alaska. Maybe you saw this too. So it said 7 billion crabs have disappeared. It's like, what? I didn't even know there were billions of crabs in Alaska. Big guys, big guys. Arctic crabs. I had no idea there were billions of them. But anyway, 7 billion just disappeared from they don't know where they went. So that's 7 billion right there. That's almost as many humans as there are just as an Arctic crab. Anyway, there's so many creatures, but only in your human form of life are you capable of watching an Uddhava-gita class. Are you capable of taking instruction from great sages, from Srimad Bhagavatam, from Krishna? Only in this life can we actually seek out our supreme well-being, our supreme self-realization, supreme goal. And so it's very important, so super important life. Take great care of your body, really careful as your dharma. I call this in the 3T path your natural dharma. So you have to eat nicely and exercise and be very careful with your sleep and, no drugs, no, don't abuse your body. Very nice, take care of your body because this is your opportunity to seek knowledge, to become enlightened. So that's what he's doing. But remaining detached because this is going to end any second. Don't think like, oh, I'm this young, so let's see, my age, 100 minus my age, oh, I have so many years to live. No, don't do that, because you don't know. This could be the last day, this could be the last moment. So detached, but making great use of it. Purport. The words yata, tatapi are significant in this verse. Although the body bestows great benefit, by enabling one to learn about this world, one should always remember its unhappy, inevitable future. If cremated, the body is burned to ashes by fire. If lost in a lonely place, it is consumed by jackals and vultures. And if buried in a luxurious coffin, it decomposes and is consumed by insignificant insects and worms. Thus, it is described as parakyam, ultimately to be consumed by others. One should, however, carefully maintain bodily health to execute Krishna consciousness, but without undue affection or attachment. By studying the body's birth and death, one can acquire virati viveka, the intelligence to detach oneself from useless things. The word avadhuta indicates conviction. One should be convinced of all the truths of Krishna consciousness. Verse 26. A man attached to the body accumulates money with great struggle to expand and protect the position of his wife, children, property, domestic animals, servants, homes, relatives, friends, and so on. He does all this for the gratification of his own body. As a tree before dying produces the seed of a future tree, the dying body manifests the seed of one's next material body in the form of one's accumulated karma. thus assuring the continuation of material existence. The material body sinks down and dies. So this is a stark, graphic example of what's going on. What the mind, the life of a materialist, of a non-yogi, a karmi they're called. The life of a karmi is this. You're attached to your body, so you're struggling to get money, struggling to expand and protect your wife, children, home, and domestic animals, properties, the whole thing, right? And you're struggling with that, and you're struggling, and then what do? You're just generating all this karma. So when you die, it's not the end, because then all this karma impels you to the next birth in samsara. And you have to take another birth. And of course, it's all the karma plus what your mind was focused on, as one of the elements, as one of the inputs in the equation of where you're going to end up. You have all this karma plus what your mind is fixed upon at death. And then you're forced to take another birth. And then you do it all over again. And that's what we've been doing life after life in so many different species. Because you can be a karmi in any species, right? You can be an animal, a dog, a bird, they're all doing the same thing. There's no difference. The scriptures point this out, that if you don't take to spiritual life, then you're just a two-legged animal. They're harsh like that, very harsh. You're like a two-legged animal because you're just doing the same thing everybody else is doing. So your house is nicer than maybe like a hole in the tree or a hole in the ground. Sure, nice, good for you, but still it's the same concept, You have a house, you have a home, the rabbit has a home, the fox has a home, it's not much different. And you're out to make sure you're okay, and your kids are okay, and they're out to make sure their kids are okay as well. Same thing. And you want sex, and they want sex, and you want food, and they want food. What's the difference? Even fun. Look at birds. Birds have fun. They're playing around. Dolphins, they surf and they jump waves. Everybody's seen those beautiful images. They're like surfing and jumping waves. They're just having fun as well. So yeah, we have fun, they have fun. It's all the same. The one thing that can be different is if you take to spiritual life. That is the one special condition of this human body. Very good. So, very dramatic. This is what's going on if you become attached to the body. Purport. One might argue, among all the gurus mentioned thus far, the material body is certainly the best, since it awards the detachment and fine intelligence that enable one to engage in the devotional service of the Lord. Thus we should serve the body, although it is temporary, with great attachment, or risk the offense of ungratefulness. How can detachment from the body be recommended when the body is endowed with so many wonderful qualities? The answer is given in this verse. The body does not award detachment and knowledge in the manner of some benevolent teacher. Rather, it causes so much pain and misery that any common sense person cannot help being convinced of the uselessness of material life. This is great stuff, isn't it? So it's not that the body is some benevolent teacher giving you detachment and knowledge. No, it teaches you by suffering. That's the idea. If you pay attention, you see how difficult life is and how much suffering there is, then you're like, oh, what's going on here? And then you start researching, who am I? Where am I? Where have I come from? Where am I going? What are my options? And you become a spiritualist. So that's what it teaches you, by suffering. Just as a tree produces the seeds of the next tree and then dies, the body's lusty desires induce the conditioned soul to create a further chain of karma. Finally, the body, having paved the way for unlimited suffering in material existence, drops dead. It's great stuff, isn't it? This is heavy. This is heavy stuff. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is a spiritual master from the early last century, Deha indicates both the gross body and the subtle mental body. Those who do not clearly understand the difference between body and soul falsely think that the body and soul are identical and that one can find perfect happiness in bodily sense gratification. But those who foolishly accept the temporary body as all important cannot be compared with self-realized souls who intelligently understand the superiority of the eternal soul. Verse 27. A man who has many wives is constantly harassed by them. This is back in the days where polygamy was common. But today, even one wife's enough to harass. One husband is enough to harass anyone. He is responsible for their maintenance, and thus all the ladies constantly pull him in different directions, each struggling for her self-interest. Similarly, the material senses harass the conditioned soul, pulling him in many different directions at once. On one side, the tongue is pulling him to arrange tasty food. Then thirst drags him to get a suitable drink. Simultaneously, the sex organs clamor for satisfaction, and the sense of touch demands soft, sensuous objects. The belly harasses him until it is filled. The ears demand to hear pleasing sounds. The sense of smell hankers for pleasant aromas. And the fickle eyes clamor for pleasing sights. Thus the senses, organs, and limbs, all desiring satisfaction, pull the living entity in many directions. This is great stuff, isn't it? This is exactly what's going on. Who can deny that this is exactly what's going on all day long, every day, from the moment you were born till the moment you die? This is exactly material life. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who was a spiritual master in our lineage from the 17th century, mentions that after understanding this verse, one should merely offer, without attachment, the bare necessities to the guru of one's body. One should keep one's body fit and working in the simplest possible way. And that is the sum and substance of service to this so-called guru. If one desires to faithfully serve the body, one should consider that the body pulls the consciousness of the conditioned soul in many ways at once. And thus, for the servant of the body, there is no possibility of understanding God or even becoming peaceful. So that's it. Let's stop here. I hope you enjoyed these powerful, heavy verses. This is great, heavy stuff. This is classic, heavy yogic teachings from this avadhuta, renounced avadhuta sage. Have the rest of your day with lots of peace and lots of love. Hare Krishna.